ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Monday, February 10th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. So we're in the aftermath now. Super Bowl's over. Everybody's starting to talk about baseball, right? I don't know about you. That's been my social media feed all day. All the baseball fans have decided just to show themselves and yell baseball is next. I don't know what they're talking about. We got plenty of basketball to get into. We're going to hear from Marshall head coach Corny Jackson in just a few minutes. Had a chance to head over to Marshall earlier today, catch up with him a little bit, his presser weekly. So we've got that coming up. And of course, I want to hear from you because we got a lot to get into. Obviously, the Super Bowl yesterday, and it really wasn't that much of a game. The Eagles beat the Chiefs 40-22. So a big shout out to my friend Luke Creasy, former sports writer from HD Media. He's a big Philadelphia fan. He is huge. When he was an intern here before he took the job over at HD Media, he had the dog mask. He was a big fan, loved Vinny Curry, still loves Vinny Curry. And so shout out to him. I'm still waiting for my Super Bowl victory. Bengals fan, long suffering, continue to suffer. It's gonna happen one day. I don't know if I'll be around for it, but it's gonna happen one day. Hopefully, maybe next year. I don't know. But the three-peat did not happen for the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles get the first win for quarterback Jalen Hurts, named the most valuable player. So the game got a little bit of conversation. I know a lot of people on social media talking more about the halftime performance from the game. Kendrick Lamar going out there, and it was a work of art. I'll say that. Now, for me, Prince's halftime show, still the best. I'll flat out put that up against anything, any day of the week. That's my favorite halftime performance. I'm a big fan of that performance. I'm a big fan of Prince. And so I watched a little bit of that, just, okay, am I remembering this with a little bit more nostalgia? No, it still holds up well. It's everything you could possibly ask for. Prince makes sense. He is well known. I know, just basing off on social media today, last night, a lot of people maybe not getting what was happening. A lot of people maybe not aware of Kendrick Lamar. I know that's probably hard to imagine for a younger audience to hear that, but I'm sure there were a lot of people that were scratching their heads going, who is this and what is he talking about? And of course, there's a lot of history behind what he was talking about. I mean, Serena Williams was featured. That was interesting, and that's a whole story unto itself. There's also the fact that you had Samuel L. Jackson. He was narrating, telling you straight up what was happening. Then there's the Drake diss. We all know the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. If we don't, I don't think I have a full hour to go into all of that. But it was an interesting, maybe divisive halftime performance. So what'd you like about the halftime performance if you watched and you stuck around? Or what didn't you like? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. How would you rate it? 0 from I didn't like it, I didn't watch it, to 10, it was the best. It was perfect. Somewhere in between. And of course, the game itself, I'm curious, long-term impact of this one, not really a good game. I wasn't overly impressed with Tom Brady. Now, maybe we're being a little harsh on Brady. He's a football player that has played in 10 Super Bowls. He's got Super Bowl experience, 10 games. So he should know everything that could possibly happen in a Super Bowl. He should be able to relate those experiences. And I think over time, he's going to be able to relate that a lot better. But if this was just a normal football game, I thought Brady was fine. But it's just a Super Bowl game. I'm not sure if he was ready just yet for the big stage. The Fox pregame crew, of course, they're always solid. Ever since Phil Simms and Boomer Esiason were either their contract ran out or, in Boomer's case, made the decision that, okay, I'm going to work on other projects. We're leaving on good terms. I haven't watched the CBS pregame show as much, but the Fox pregame show I watch a lot, as it hasn't changed very often. And so there was a really heartfelt tribute to Jimmy Johnson. It was fantastic to watch, and he might be coming back, but it felt like, okay, this is the beginning of the end. And if that's the case, I really liked how they paid tribute to him. And then you got Terry Bradshaw. Pretty much if I saw that correctly, I think this is pretty much going to be the beginning of the end as well for him. So there's going to be some changes. So this was, in a lot of ways, a very interesting Super Bowl to watch from a broadcast point of view, from the fact that the game did not live up to the hype. The score bug was terrible to look at. By the way, the presentation on Fox, it was good, but why do broadcasters, and I'm a broadcaster, why do we like changing things? If it works, you can modify it, but the scoreboard, the bug, the overlay, everything, I'm not sure if I was a big fan of that. So there's a lot we can talk about with this game, and I really haven't had a chance to talk to anybody except you. So you're the first people to hear this. You're the first. I haven't talked to anybody about the game. We've all been with our heads down today over here at this station. So it was, if you're a fan of the Chiefs, it was not a good night. If you are a fan of the Eagles, it was a great night. If you're in between, you're like me, I watched it to the end. It was good to see Jalen Hurts get the MVP award. It's nice to have change at the top. I don't know if a three-peat would have been necessarily bad. I don't know if I believe in Chiefs fatigue just yet. I mean, it's a good thing if the Chiefs can come back next year, and we don't know if Travis Kelce is going to make that decision to come back as well. If he leaves, he's done. He's had a career already. If he comes back, it would be to not leave on a sour note. You'd hate to have a career like his and leave on a sour note. Your last memory of being walking down that tunnel, losing the Super Bowl. So all of that we can get into. Of course, we're going to look ahead now. We've got Marshall basketball coming up this week. The Thundering Herd going to be at South Alabama, first of 4 on the road. And that's going to be an 8 o'clock tip. We go on the air at 7 o'clock coming up on Thursday right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930, also on 93.7 The Dog. We had a chance to catch up with Coach Jackson. We're going to get into that. And, of course, I do want to hear from you. It's Monday. We haven't had a chance to talk for a few days, so I want to catch up with everyone. Let's do that. 304-396-TALK. That's our Clark's Pump and Shop text line, 304-396-8255. I know we didn't have a basketball game to get into on Saturday to talk about. Marshall had the day off. Well, the Herd didn't play a game. Coach Jackson had them out there. They were doing things to get ready for the upcoming matchup with South Alabama. We'll have that for you again coming up on Thursday. And, of course, we're going to have the Coaches Show tomorrow. So we've got a lot coming up this week. It's a busy week as the Herd's on the road for 4, and we're going to talk about it next on today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Race to savings at Menards and start updating your home today. We offer the largest in-stock selection of home appliances that are ready to take home today, including Criterion refrigerators, freezers, dishwashers, and laundry appliances. They're built to make your life simple, no matter how busy life gets. Criterion appliances are ready when you are. Plus, view our weekly flyer on Menards.com and race to savings on all the great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
At Poca Valley Bank, a handshake can still mean the start of a great relationship. We've been greeting customers with a handshake since 1908. Why settle for less? If you're purchasing your first home or planning for your future, Poca Valley Bank is here to support you with personalized service and local expertise. They are your trusted advisors. Why settle for less when you can experience banking with a team that truly cares? Poca Valley Bank, where relationships matter. Visit PocaValleyBank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Stalwart Insurance is the name for insurance in the tri-state. They are committed to delivering tailored benefit solutions with thoughtful, strategic planning with valuable professional services. Stop by or call Stalwart Insurance for your homeowner's insurance needs. Stalwart Insurance is located right beside Kenny Queen Hardware on Route 10 in Barbersville. Call Stalwart Insurance anytime at 304-552-3883. That's 304-552-3883. Or visit them online at stalwartinsurance.com.
Hey Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. If you're a sports fan, we have what you want. From the biggest game in professional football, NBA, NCAA basketball, and the NHL. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials we have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check us out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude.
How's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Course. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night. Perfect. I love my job. Oak Tree?
Sup?
Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like. Consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think he would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay. Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talkline, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Welcome back to our Monday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our Clark's Pump and Shop text line this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. As we're moving past the Super Bowl, we're looking ahead to Marshall basketball. The men taking on South Alabama Thursday night. 7 o'clock airtime right here and on 93.7 The Dog. So this is a big one for the Thundering Herd. Got to go on the road for 4 straight before the final 2 at home. And then you get into the tournament. Every team is going, so it's not a matter if you're going to the tournament, it's where you're going to start, how many games you have to play before you can get to the NCAA tournament. So all of that's going to be decided. This game will go a long way in determining that. And so Marshall had a chance to sit back a little bit on Saturday night. You had the MAC Sunbelt Challenge going on. South Alabama took on Akron. South Alabama lost that game. Coach had his thoughts on him. I was asking him about it. Had you get a chance to watch some of those games? What'd you think? And he had some thoughts on what he saw. Obviously, he pointed out that, hey, look, this is a game with MAC officials, and I think we'll leave that at that. But here's what he thought about what he saw and, in general, about South Alabama.
It's physical, right? Physical. Our league is very physical, and the MAC had a lot of MAC officials, so a lot of calls went into their favor. So we're focused and locked in on going down here to South Alabama and playing our game, looking forward to executing. They play a zone, so that's different, right? They play Probably 40-minute game. Those guys will play 38 minutes of 2-3 zone, but it's a funky looking zone. They'll also play some 1-3-1. So we have to again prep and get ready for that for Thursday.
So it's a funky looking zone, he said. And so get ready. Marshall's going to put up a lot of threes. I think Akron put over 40 threes up in the air. They launched a lot of them. And so with the funky looking zone, Coach talked about what they do on defense, and he broke that down a little bit more.
They're not really going to change. I was watching film on them this morning. They when they played Monroe, they switched up and kind of did like a triangle and two. That was the first time in probably 6 games that they really came out of the zone. They want you to shoot the three. You know, Akron, I believe, took 40 plus threes. The other day, Arkansas State took, I believe, 42 when they played them and they stayed in the zone. It's different. And Coach Riley, you have to give him credit. He looked at he's never played zone this much, and he looked at his roster this year, and that's what worked for them. It's an aggressive zone. It's not your typical 2-3 zone. They're aggressive. They play a 2-2-1 back to 2-3, and they're aggressive trying to get steals. I mean, they are I believe 11th in the country in steals, and they play zone. So that tells you how aggressive they are.
Keep that in mind. Aggressive zone, one of the top teams in the country in steals. So what makes their zone so good?
They pressure you. So what they do is they'll play the 2-2-1. It's a pressure. The two guys up front are basically playing man, right? So they'll pressure you. Now when you cross half court, you have 20 seconds, sometimes 18 to get a shot up, and that's what makes their zone so effective.
Now, last year and the year before and the year before, you'd ask Coach about, hey, what do you got to do? And Coach D'Antoni would tell you, look, we're going to go out there, we're going to play our game. We're not going to adjust to them. We're going to make them adjust to us. And that worked for a lot of games. But you're playing the zone. You have some opportunities here. You go out and you're going to shoot a lot, obviously. You might get them in, you might not. But Coach did talk a little bit, without giving away the entirety of what the Herd might do on Thursday night. Coach talked about, and it's always refreshing to hear, about what the Herd needs to do, what you need to do when you go out there and you attack the zone.
You have to find the gaps, and that's what we're going to work on all week here, is just finding gaps, ball movement. We're looking at some things offensively that we can do to help our guys get easier shots. But the best way to stop a zone is to get a stop and don't let the zone set up. So we obviously want to get out in transition, push the ball, and make smart decisions and take the shots when they're there.
That's Coach Jackson breaking down this week's opponent, South Alabama. Now, the advantage for Marshall, and thankfully it's one that I am 100% on board with, because I don't want to see Marshall just play a random Mid-American Conference team. It's not that I dislike the MAC. It's just you got to play those games that make sense for Marshall. Now, any other school, it's different, but Marshall has such a history with the Mid-American Conference that it makes more sense for Marshall to be able to schedule an Ohio, schedule a Toledo, Akron, just pick a few schools that you have relationships with and keep those strong without just adding a team from the Mid-American Conference based off, okay, this team matches up with this team record-wise. This is the matchup. The top team's going to play the top team, second, third. You go down the line. So you have this advantage, and I hope Marshall has this built in the schedule every year. You had a Saturday off. It helps in so many ways. Get you ready for the stretch. Down the road, this might turn out to be very beneficial for Marshall to have just a momentary pause. And so Coach talked about what it meant and what the team was doing, having this break between games, going from a league game, having that Saturday off, going back in the league.
It was nice, having the break. I know our guys really enjoyed it. We practiced, but it wasn't our normal practice. It was more just a stay ready type of practice. So we shot one day, and then the next day we kind of practiced, but it was shorter. So again, we try to take advantage of resting the guys mentally and physically, but we also prepared for South Alabama. We watched film, and our practice was just lighter this past weekend.
And that was something Coach talked about. He was asked about later in the press conference, just about this team being mentally tough down the stretch.
Yeah, we have experienced guys, guys who have been through the wars, and they've been through the battles. We have 6 or 7 guys with 1 year left, so those guys have big-time experience on major stages, and we're just trying to get better each day. You know, we haven't really talked about the end of the season and the seedings. We hadn't got there yet. We want to keep getting better every day to give us an opportunity to win our next game.
That's Marshall head coach Cornelius Jackson. We got a couple more from him. We're going to get into that on the other side of the break. Our text line this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. Let's get back to the text line. This is about the game last night. Texter says, Paul, the game itself was boring, but I'll give the halftime show a 7. Kendrick Lamar buried Drake. But my all-time favorite was Snoop, Dre, Eminem, and 50 Cent. Now, ready for more Herd Hoops. That's a good one. That was a good performance because you got a little bit of everything. You've got Eminem, you got Dre, you got Snoop Dogg. How do you not like Snoop Dogg? If you don't like Snoop Dogg, you're just living life wrong right now. So I would give that maybe at our age, and maybe if you're younger, you're giving it a higher score. If you're older, maybe you're giving it a lower score. But I would give Kendrick Lamar, just for presentation, storytelling, and everything, I think that was an A-plus effort. But was I entertained? Yes and no. There's a little bit it was, a little bit it wasn't. I think 7's fair. What do you think? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Again, my scale is Prince 10. Everybody else is playing for second place at this point. But I did like the Drake diss, and the crowd got into the Drake diss as well. Because I'm not a big fan of Drake. Between the two, I would take Kendrick Lamar every day. I'm just not a big fan of Drake. 304-396-TALK. That's our text line. Brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. Are you a big fan of Drake? He's got a new album coming out. Are you excited for that? Maybe not. More coming up. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Stuck in a state of falling behind, struggling to keep up with kids, finances, insurance, and life? Well, let your State Farm agent help you simplify and get to a better state. With State Farm handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time to handle everything else. More money, too. Adding State Farm policies can earn discounts that could add up to 40%. Help you get ahead. Call an agent today and get to a better state with State Farm. In Huntington, Ray Crabtree, 304-736-8181. In Milton, Russ McRae, 304-743-9318. And in Lavalette, Jason Elkins, 304-529-7555. Metro Community Federal Credit Union has been serving the Huntington community for 70 years and is proud to announce our newest location in Lavalette is now open. Wayne County residents, you now have access to a modern banking facility, a full range of services, advanced technology, expert financial advice, and even a smart coffee kiosk cafe. Learn more about Metro Community Federal Credit Union online at metrocommunityfcu.com or visit us today on 5th Street Road. Equal housing lender, member NCUA.
Kindred Digital Sports is proud to bring you the Marshall Orthopedics High School Basketball Showcase, presented by the Marshall Sports Medicine Institute. Thursday night at 7, watch live HD video of the Cabell Midland Knights as they host the St. Albans Red Dragons. Watch live on this station's Facebook page or website, and on the Cabell County Schools Facebook page. Cabell Midland versus St. Albans, Thursday night. It's the Marshall Orthopedics High School Basketball Showcase, fueled by GoMart. Go for good times. Go for GoMart.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Buddy's All-American Barbecue is now in Milton. Enjoy all your favorite Buddy's classics like pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more on East Main Street in Milton. Buddy's All-American Barbecue, the home of great barbecue, ice-cold beer, and killer wings in Huntington and now in Milton.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Our Clark's Pump and Shop text line this hour is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Welcome back to today's edition of The Drive. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We're recovering from the Super Bowl last night. I get a feeling a lot of people maybe just turned it off. Maybe at halftime, after halftime, a lot of people just turned it off. It was not a fun game. What'd you think? If you're an Eagles fan, obviously you loved it. But everybody else, I don't know. I don't know how I felt about this one. It wasn't a terrible game if you like Eagles defense, but Patrick Mahomes just could not get anything going for the longest time. So we've been talking about that. 304-396-TALK's our text line. Of course, we've got Marshall basketball coming up this week. Looking for, hopefully, 4 wins on the road, trying to solidify its spot in the conference tournament. That is coming up. We have a lot of other things happening as well. Of course, the Marshall women fell in its effort in the MAC Sunbelt Challenge. Softball picked up its first win, defeated Morgan State 12-4. That was in Florida, so the Herd getting it going. Marshall tennis. How about Marshall tennis? Let's talk about the Herd for just a second here. John Mercer, for the most part, has had year after year after year successful, and I mean successful teams. And so the Herd is out to a really hot start right now on the tennis court. Marshall now 7-0, beat the Miami Redhawks. Now, Redhawks have yet to win. I'll still take it. So the Herd getting it done, won the doubles, and swept the singles as well. Won doubles, two of the 3, and then swept singles. But is this team ready for a road trip in Virginia? You got Virginia Tech coming up on Friday, 2 o'clock. We're going to see how good this team really is. And even then, if Marshall would lose to Virginia Tech, I don't think that's really a major stumbling block for this team. To start out 7-0 is very hard. I think this Herd team is legit. This is probably John's best team in a long time, Coach Mercer's best team in a long time. And to start 7-0 and possibly go to 8-0 with a win over Virginia Tech, that's going to say something with that game, or that match. So we'll find out. Hopefully we can get Coach Mercer back on with us. That's coming up this week. We'll talk to him, hopefully, and talk about this run so far that the tennis team has had. Until then, let's get your text in, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I got a couple more from Coach Jackson. I was over at the Henderson Center earlier today. We just got a couple more. It really didn't fit what we were talking about earlier. We were talking mostly about South Alabama. That's coming up this week. How you play against them, how this break might help the Thundering Herd. But there were a couple of questions. Coach was asked, first of all, we go back to the Arkansas State game. Marshall winning that, going on national TV, making a statement, beating the best team in the league at the moment. And Coach was asked, how does that Arkansas State win help this team down the stretch?
You know what? That was a really good game. I'm proud of our guys. I thought we had a great team effort. Obviously, we had Nate and those guys played well. Dezane Mingo really played well. But Wyatt Fricks came off the bench and gave us a huge boost. And those guys have been like that all year. Our bench guys, they stay ready. I think that can only build and help us down the road. But again, road games are different. South Alabama is good. I mean, they're 16-9. I think if you count the loss to Akron, 16-9, 8-4, and they're good and they're good at home. So we have our work cut out. We'll have our hands full, and we have to have focus to go down here and try to be successful.
Road games are different, but the Herd showed the last road trip it could won 3 out of the last 4. I really thought that Marshall could have won all 4 of those road games. So can Marshall go on the road and make a run? And after watching the Herd take on Arkansas State, do you think Marshall can go on the road against a team like South Alabama, team that's going to let you shoot? If Marshall gets hot, Marshall could light it up early. If Marshall isn't hot, then Marshall will have to maybe rely a little bit more on the inside game. We've got some really good performances as of late, the bench really showing up and stepping up. More of the usual suspects are doing what we thought those usual suspects should be doing. And then You got Wyatt Fricks. All of a sudden, Wyatt Fricks becoming a weapon again. Coach talked a little bit about him, and hopefully you're going to get a little bit more consistency out of him as we go down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, you hope to. You hope that the light comes on and it's more consistent, right? But, again, a guy like that, he's done this twice, right? So he at Georgia State, he was very productive. And then here in this game, if he's like that on a consistent basis, it can definitely raise the level of his team. But, you stay with guys, right? You stay with them. You let them know you believe in them, even when others may not, because you never know. He may have a game like this, national TV, against the number one team in the league, and he have 3 threes in 12 minutes that can propel you to a victory or help prepare you to a victory. So proud of Wyatt, and obviously we want to see him shoot the ball more consistent, but his energy is consistent, his effort's consistent, the way he go about his daily work is consistent. Now he just has to turn the page and make shots on a consistent basis.
You won't hear a cross word from Coach about how his guys are playing. Coach Jackson, his comments earlier today at the Henderson Center Marshall in action this week, taking on South Alabama. We're going to have the game for you at 7 o'clock Thursday night when we go on the air. 8 o'clock tip right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Basketball action tonight. You got number 11 Kentucky on the women's side taking on Ole Miss at 7 o'clock. And then tomorrow, we'll have it for you at 5:30 airtime on our sister station, 92.7 and 98.5 The Planet. Kentucky taking on Tennessee, top 15 battle there. And we've got NBA action as well tonight, 7 o'clock. Cleveland will play host to Minnesota. So busy night of basketball the next couple of nights. And, of course, you can follow along UK on our sister station. And, of course, we've got the herd for you Thursday night right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Let's get your text in. Our Clark's Pump and Shop text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Now is the time to add on a new bathroom or remodel your old one with the latest up-to-date bathroom fixtures from Mutual Wholesalers, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Come in today to Mutual Wholesalers' beautiful showroom and see how your new bathroom will look. Check out Acre by Max. Have a new bathroom this year. Mutual Wholesalers, locally owned and operated, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Call 304-525-9118.
Hey, Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. If you're a sports fan, we have what you want. From the biggest game in professional football, NBA, NCAA basketball, and the NHL. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials we have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check us out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Stalwart Insurance is the name for insurance in the Tri-State. They are committed to delivering tailored benefit solutions with thoughtful, strategic planning with valuable professional services. Stop by or call Stalwart Insurance for your homeowner's insurance needs. Stalwart Insurance is located right beside Kitty Queen Hardware on Route 10 in Barbersville. Call Stalwart Insurance anytime at 304-552-3883. That's 304-552-3883. Or visit them online at stalwartinsurance.com.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138, visit Prevnar20.com, or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea, and happy 50th.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Hi everyone, I'm Kristen Bell, and I invited you here to my hotel room to talk about your cheeks. Your big, beautiful cheeks. Get your mind out of the gutter, I'm talking about swabbing them. Did you guys know that each year 20,000 Americans with blood cancer are searching for their life-saving marrow match? Can you even believe that? I mean, people need marrow, you guys, and we have it. So here's how we can help. It's really, really simple. All you have to do is swab your cheek, this cheek. Then go to Gift of Life Marrow Registry. It's so easy, anyone can do it. And in case you're wondering, if you're a match, donating, it's a lot easier than you think. So wherever you are, go ahead and swab that cheek. Go to giftoflife.org and get a free kit sent to your home, or find a donor drive in your area so that you can swab a cheek and save a life. It's only a minute of your time, but it can give someone else the rest of their life.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Follow at Paul Swann on X for Marshall sports updates and more.
Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. We've been asking you what you thought of the game last night. Of course, the Eagles getting the win over Kansas City. The Chiefs fall to the Eagles 40-22. So the Lombardi Trophy belongs to the state of Pennsylvania. Halftime performance seemed to get a little bit more talk than the game. Of course, the game wasn't as entertaining probably as the halftime performance. So we've been asking you, what did you think of everything? Texter wrote in and said the game was a typical Super Bowl game, but the halftime was the worst halftime ever! Exclamation point. I appreciate the text. Why was it the worst halftime ever? That's what I want to hear. What made it the worst halftime ever? We've seen some pretty bad halftime. I thought The Who, and I like The Who, I thought the halftime The Who put on it many years ago, that was terrible. It just felt off. What about Katy Perry? Is that okay? Is that mediocre halftime? What do you think of that one? Lady Gaga, Beyonce, what do you think? Think this was the worst one ever? I'm not sure if it was the worst one ever. Some of you act like you've never grew up watching the Super Bowl and watching Up with People. That was when these things nobody cared about. I remember when I was a younger lad, networks would counter program the halftime. Absolutely would counter program. And it wasn't because the halftime was bad. It wasn't a focus. Nobody really focused on the halftime entertainment as much because Up with People was this uplifting musical group that probably performed more Super Bowls than I care to remember. 5 times between 1971 and 1986, by the way. I did do a little research on this. And so the halftime really wasn't that big of it wasn't the global phenomenon it is where you have to have it produced by Apple Music now and before that. Texture says, Paul, it was the worst ever because over half the audience had no idea of him or the message. I can understand that. There have been several people on my social media feed. I appreciate the text. I just want to blend this in. There have been several people on my social media feed. Good friends, or they used to be. Good friends. Absolutely. I don't want to say chastising that if you didn't get it, he's a Pulitzer Prize winner and he's an artist. He's telling a story. There's a message, and you're probably over a certain age group, and you didn't appreciate the art, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that that's the tone to take with people because One, I don't think the sound was very good to begin with, so you couldn't hear half of what he was saying. And let me check notes. Halftime entertainment, check notes, need notes to follow along. Now, I knew most of what was going on because I'm a little familiar with what's going on. He has a beef with Drake, and I thought it was very clever. The symbolism, I got a lot of it understood. And so I had no problem with the performance. I had no problem with the presentation and what was laid out, but I think a lot of people did because art's subjective. This wasn't a simple concert. This was him putting on a performance, and it was artistic in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of people, it's subjective, and it sometimes depends on your worldview. But yeah, I'm with you, understand where you're coming from, because a lot of people had to go do homework. It's a halftime entertainment report. It's a halftime entertainment show. And a lot of people didn't have the bandwidth to go do the homework to get it. And this is probably the first and last time that they're going to check in until the next Super Bowl anyway. And is Kendrick Lamar universal? Is he globally iconic for a lot of people? And just going by social media alone, I think a lot of people were just scratching their head going, what did we get ourselves into? Who is this? Or I didn't even know that this was a thing, this beef with Drake. And I don't think it's necessarily that I'm too old. That's the argument. I think just a lot of people, maybe Kendrick Lamar doesn't have the appeal globally, or at least iconic just yet, that, say, a Michael Jackson had or a Prince had. Is he on that level for a lot of people? That's probably the big problem. Texter says, Paul, definitely no sense in the message for the Super Bowl. Sam Jackson didn't make it any better. Could care less about Snoop Dogg, Drake, and or Kendrick Lamar with a stupid beef that they're too old to be acting so immature. It was entertaining less. I appreciate the text. So, beefing on the Super Bowl stage, I will say this, the memes are hilarious. The memes were hilarious. And of course, you had to do some homework here. He had the jewelry. The jacket had a lot of messaging on it. The symbolism, the American flag divided. There was a lot of messaging going on in this halftime report. The Serena Williams cameo, because she used to be linked to Drake. That was a thing right there. And so I think for a lot of people, it was profound. It was deep. It was entertaining. For a lot of people, it was, I don't get it. It's not entertaining. What's the message here? I have to do homework now. And honestly, I just don't know if the majority of the people that are tuned in to the Super Bowl knew who he was. Yes, award-winning, decorated. The kids love him. If you're under a certain age group, though, I think you got who he was. If you're under a certain group, age-wise. And if you don't have to limit that. If you're Gen Z, you know what's going on. If you're millennial, I'm sure you maybe you know what's going on. If you're Gen X, like me, we just don't care. If you're a boomer, you definitely don't care. See, that's the great thing about being a Gen X. Deep down, at the end of the day, I don't care. That's at least what they tell me, because I don't care. So I don't know if I'm supposed to care or not, because I don't care. You get what I'm saying here. It's generational, I think. And so it sparked a lot of debate. It sparked a lot of conversation. And I think, of course, that's not a bad thing necessarily. I don't want to see the halftime show kind of be dumbed down a little bit. I get where a lot of people are coming from, because, again, this thing didn't used to actually matter, because the WWE scheduled a wrestling match in that time slot at one point. And I know Fox used to do, remember the show In Living Color? Fox did, I remember one year, had a live, in that time span, they did like a few skits, and they did some counter programming. And that used to be a thing, to counter program the halftime. And of course, the whole Janet Jackson debacle, that really changed the way the thing was presented over the years. And I don't know if it's gotten better or gone downhill since that incident. Or is this going to be an issue where you just can't please all the people? Is there one universal performer that will make everyone happy? And probably the answer is no. I don't know who that entertainer is. Is there someone that you can just bring up next year and go, okay, that person is going to make everybody happy? Because if you go country, you're going to have a lot of people tune out. If you go, you go rap, maybe people will tune out. If you go rock, maybe people tune out. I don't know. Texter says, Paul, side note, any idea who selects the halftime talent? It started mattering after Janet. I think the NFL has to sign off on it, but Apple Music's the current sponsor. And so I believe Rock Nation is producing, and that's Jay-Z. So he's taken over the last few years, has been in concert with Apple Music. So I think right now, he's probably producing, lining up the talent. You just don't show up a couple of months before and go, okay, you're the halftime. You got to actually, this thing is going to be selected here several months out before probably the start of the season. They'll probably announce sometime here soon who's going to be the next performer. Or at least there's going to be some behind the scenes on this. But I believe it's right now, I think it's Jay-Z, Rock Nation. I could be completely off base on that. Again, this is not necessarily my wheelhouse, but yes, it started mattering after Janet. Definitely. It was kind of like can't miss after that. Okay, what are they going to do now? What are they going to do after Janet? Whatever they do, please do not bring back Up With People. And if you live through it, you live through it. Or remember the time they did the 3D one? Does anyone remember that other than me? I remember that well. And was Kendrick Lamar better than Usher? Yes. Was Kendrick Lamar better than Rihanna? Okay, I like Rihanna, so we're going to fight there. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar was in that. The Weeknd, okay, wasn't necessarily my favorite there. Shakira, Jennifer Lopez, remember that one? I like Shakira. Maroon 5, Justin Timberlake, Lady Gaga. I thought the Coldplay one was okay. A lot of people like Bruno Mars. I was disappointed with the Black Eyed Peas, actually. But The Who was really disappointing, I thought. And then, of course, there was, the year that we had the Rolling Stones, Prince, Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen. I don't know if I remember the Shania Twain one. I don't think I remember that one as well. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for tuning in. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Broadcasting from the Dave & Buster's studios. Eat, drink, play, and watch at Dave & Buster's in the Huntington Mall. ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. WRBC, W231BS Huntington.